And as a parent, that's the most devastating news you could ever receive. At that point, I'd been a widow for 12 years. I'd walked through death before. And I knew what grief was like, but I knew this was going to be much, much harder. But even at that point, I knew how I was going to get through. I knew where my strength was going to come from. God was still the same God on August 2nd as he was on August 1st. His character hadn't changed. My circumstances had drastically changed, but my God had not changed. My name is Debbie Lee, and this is the story of my son, Navy SEAL Marc Lee. So my son Marc was deployed to Iraq, specifically Ramadi, Iraq, in 2006. He went over there, believe the end of March, beginning of April. I don't know the exact dates that they left, but you may remember back in 2006, Ramadi, Iraq was where the majority of our casualties were coming from. Marc's teammates said that was the hellhole of Iraq, or the worst piece of real estate over there. But these guys are, this is what they prepare for. This is what they're trained for. They're the tip of the spear. They do this the best. And so I know that Marc was ready. I know he's prepared. I know his teammates at Task Unit Bruiser, were some of the best, and ready to go defend us and the freedoms that we enjoy each and every day, willing to make that sacrifice if it was required to defend the country that he loves so much. Yeah, August 2nd, 2006 was obviously a day that forever changed our lives, and that was the day that we were notified that my son Marc Lee had been killed in action. Later, after we'd been notified and had processed through things, we started to get calls from his teammates and started to hear the heroic story of what he did that day. And it was 115, 120 degrees in Iraq that day. He carried the big gun, so he carried anywhere from 150 to 180 pounds in addition to his own weight. I've been to Iraq twice. I've felt those extreme temperatures. I was not carrying 150 to 180 pounds or having bullets whizzed by me, so I can't even imagine how you do that in such extreme temperatures and such extreme conditions. But there were 4 of the SEALs that were on the rooftop. Marc's buddy Ryan Job had been severely injured. The bullets had hit his weapon and he had severe shrapnel injuries to the head. He fell to the ground. 2 of the SEALs dropped to their knees to help Ryan. Marc could have made that very same choice that day, but his choice was to stand up in the line of fire, hoping to provide the cover so they could get a medic up there to pay attention to Ryan. And they did. They got the medic up there. He took one look at Ryan and said, "We got to get him out of here immediately, or there's no chance for survival." So not just once, but a second time again, Marc made that choice to stand up into the line of fire all by himself, right where Ryan had just been shot. And he stood up again, provide the cover so they could all move down off of the rooftop. And they did sent Ryan off for medical attention. He actually survived 3 more years, died from complications to surgery, but they headed back to the base, which I'm proud to tell you was named Camp Marc Lee in his memory, and I got to visit Camp Marc Lee in 2007. But they got back there, and I remember Chris Kyle telling me later, they were pretty sure that there was no way that Ryan could survive the injuries that he had. They were preparing themselves for getting that news that Ryan had died. And as they were taking off their gear, getting some water to refresh themselves, the chief came in and said, "We just found 30 of the insurgents that just attacked us." And without hesitation, Marc said, "Roger that, let's go get them." So they climbed back into their Bradleys and they headed back to Ramadi, Iraq. They cleared several houses. They went in the last house Marc would be in. They cleared the bottom of the house and they started up the steps and they heard Marc yell, "On me!" And they knew what he was saying. He was saying, "I got the lead on this. You guys follow me." And as they went up those steps, they drew fire through the window. And for the last and final time, Marc made that choice again to stand up into the line of fire. He could have ducked below the wall. He probably would have lost half his platoon, but he made the choice to stand up and to give his life, willingly making that sacrifice to save his teammates. And it just, you think back to that, where do you get that strength? Where do you get that courage to be able to do that? Marc didn't weigh the pros and cons. It wasn't like, okay, well, here's the positive, here's the negative. Should I do it? Should I not do it? He just knew it was the right thing to do. and willingly gave his life to save his teammates. And that comes back to each one of us. The freedoms that we enjoy every day are paid, and it is a dear, dear price. For us as a family, it's not just a slogan that freedom isn't free. We know that price, we know that. And I'm so proud of Marc and the choice that he made to give his life so that we could live. Marc was a believer. He knew Jesus Christ was his Lord and Savior. I know where that kid is today. His journey now to his forever home is complete. But I'm honored, and I was blessed to be his mom and to have the courage and the fortitude and the perseverance. It was absolutely amazing. And we were celebrating my birthday that night, and my girlfriend had given me the willow tree angel. And those are the collector angels that have wire wings on them, and each one has a character quality. And the one that she gave me was courage. She said, "You just remind me of such a woman of courage, of all that you've been through in your life, and you still love God, and you're still positive, and you still serve Him." And little did we know how much more courage was going to be required. And so as we were celebrating, having cake and ice cream, my son called. I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And he's like, "Where are you?" Nothing in his voice to alert me that anything was wrong. He wasn't talking too fast, he wasn't crying, he wasn't screaming. And I said, "Well, it's Wednesday night, I'm at small group. Why, what's up?" And he said, "How long will it take you to get home?" I thought, well, that's an odd question. I don't know, 5 minutes, 7 minutes? Why, what's up? And he said, "You just need to come home." And I got out and he said, "Mom, the Navy's here." And you know, as a military family, when they show up at your doorstep, it's not good. If he were wounded, they would have called us and got us to him. And as I walked into my house, because they'd been in there for about an hour trying to find me, they'd been in my home. And they said, "We can tell by being in your home, you're a woman of faith. And you're going to need to rely on that faith for what we're about to tell you. Your son, Marc Lee, has been killed in action." August 2nd, 2006, I didn't have a choice, the news that was given to me. But I did have a choice how I responded. For me to feel sorry for myself, to curl up in a ball, that wouldn't bring Marc back. The stress would physically make me sick and destroy me. And that's not how God wired me. So for me to be able to put on his gear, pick up his weapon, figuratively speaking, put on his boots, and continue to fight for our men and women who sacrificed and given so much for the freedoms that we enjoy every day, and for every other Gold Star family, that's my honor to do that. And as long as God gives me breath, I will continue to do this. Losing Marc was the toughest thing I've ever been through in my life, yet the most strength I've ever seen given to me, by my Lord and Savior.